All right, I believe that we are live. Welcome to Live Coding Happy Hour for October 18th, 2019. I'm Dave Slusher, joined here with my colleague Andrew Barnes. Welcome, everybody.
Hello, everybody.
Forgive in advance any weirdness. Our VM that we normally do this, we're in a, I don't know what you call it, like a field stripped improvised setup
We're
here.
definitely down at the stripped down version.
So the fact that anything's on the screen is a gift at this point. So
and we've got audio and video going. I've verified. So
all right, fantastic. This might be
which is better than sometimes.
This might be the new normal. So anyway, what we're gonna do, this is part 3 of our Spoketoberfest. I think we might actually be at the end of this thing. So last week was kind of a mess in the fact that I had some caching problems. Andrew, like a champ, took over at the very last second and ran the whole thing, even though he wasn't planning on it.
God, that was last week.
That was last week.
It feels like that was 2 weeks ago at least.
Feels like months ago. But so what we're going to do is we're going to kind of walk through. I'm going to show. This is absolutely one of those things where we ended kind of problematically last week, and I could not let it go. And I spent Friday evening, I spent Saturday and Sunday working on this thing, got everything figured out. And now what we're going to do is we're going to take that. I will, like the first couple of minutes, I'll demonstrate kind of where I have gotten everything to with the dynamic inputs and where things are at. And then what we're going to do is we're going to try to do some orchestration equivalent. So I now have integration hub actions that will start the VMs, create images, start them, etc., etc. It also creates the root password, which is a thing that it needs. What we're going to do is we're going to create an SSH step. We're going to log into the machine and do something, return the output, and finish. So we're going to actually write a flow by the time this day is done. That is our
awesome.
Goal. So let us
that's
introduce
great.
ourselves. Yes. So then that will, I believe we will, at that point, put this one to bed and not do anything else on it for a while, if ever. So anyway, let us introduce ourselves, starting with you, sir.
Hello. I'm Andrew Barnes, developer advocate at ServiceNow. We're the mighty team of 2. And I've been doing ServiceNow development for about 5 years, with ServiceNow directly for a year. Been at partners and customers previously. Specialties in custom apps and integrations and managing dev teams and their dev products on ServiceNow.
All right. And I'm Dave Slusher. Been a software developer for 20-some years. Been in the ServiceNow ecosystem for 6 and been a developer advocate for 4. And anything that you need, developer.servicenow.com. Get yourself an instance. Ding. Get yourself all set up there. That is kind of our domain. That's where we apply our craft. So before we get going, it's very
I shall
simple with
introduce
the 2 of us.
My beer first. I have a German Kolsch through I don't know, FRU umlaut H.
My guess is freur, but that's as close as I could possibly get.
And you have, good sir?
I have the Westbrook, which is a Charleston beer, Mount Pleasant. The Festbrook, which seems appropriate enough. So
nice.
This is a golden lager, a Weiss-style golden lager. They're kind of Oktoberfesty thing, which seems right in the pocket of exactly what we're doing here. All right. With that said, I think that's plenty of preamble.
Let's just introduce Hacktoberfest just a little bit.
Okay, one more time. You go right ahead.
Yeah. So this month, October, DigitalOcean and a lot of other companies coordinate, get together, and do Hacktoberfest. So there's events all around the world right now that you can go find if you go to the Hacktoberfest website, and you can see if there's an event near you and join in. They don't necessarily have to be in place physically. So there are events that are remote. And as part of the event, if you contribute 4 pull requests up against 4 open source projects, and they are not marked as spam, and meet some waiting criteria, I think of some number of days, and they don't have to be accepted. They just have to not be marked as spam. And then if you're among the first 50,000 that meet that criteria, you get a shirt. It's pretty great. And you can then wear that shirt. And in future years, you will see other people wearing the shirt. And then you'll have a reason to talk to them because you have shared common space. and it's a really great event to push more folks to collaborate openly. And we are doing Spoketoberfest, which is building integration hub spokes. Ours for the past 2 weeks, we've been focusing on Linode because it makes Dave happy. And this week we're going to finish out on that, adding just a couple more actions, and then we're actually going to build some flows using those actions.
All right. And just to clarify one tiny bit, it doesn't have to be open source per se, just a public repo. So that's kind of their...
Yes, I'm sorry. That is a big distinction. That is a huge distinction. I'm sorry. It just does have to be a public repo. The licensing is irrelevant.
All right. I'm going to now share my screen, or at least attempt. Let's see if that actually works. Hopefully that did. So this is what we're looking at now is kind of the state of the actions of my spoke. So you can see that I have kind of fleshed this out now. And so everything that is prefixed, I have one bit of inconsistency. This get VM statistics is not, but this get the VMs, the get the regions, get VM types, get images, these are all the data gathering actions that we were working on the previous times. So then we have some actions over here that basically are acting on the VMs. By the way, their terminology that they use in their API is Linode. So they say create Linodes. I actually am changing their terminology because I don't actually care to conform to their terminology, and I'm just as soon call them VMs because everybody else in the world calls them VMs, and I'm not calling them Linodes. I'm calling them VMs.
Just one simple housekeeping thing. Do you want me to be playing YouTube so I can see what everyone else is looking at, or do you want to share?
Oh, true. Oh,
that's completely up to you.
Yeah,
I just need to choose which one.
That's fine. I'll also share on Zoom. I forgot that I was sharing in only one place. All right, 1 second. Cover me, brother man, while we get this going.
Awesome. My Kolsch today is pretty good. It is a lovely fall day here in North Carolina. I'm so excited to enjoy this nice crisp weather we've got going on. It's beautiful and windy.
All right, you now see it, right?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, yeah, because otherwise you'll be a little delayed. It'll be weird. Okay, so
right.
I forgot about that. Field stripped impromptu setup and all. Okay, let's get rid of this. All right, so now so we've got the various fundamental things here, and let us go through. And I'm gonna even make sure I've got my.
I love that you've been able to pump out what's that 9 actions with just a small amount of time.
Right. I've not been working on this that much. It's like I've been a little bit of I've been watching TV and kind of working on these with one eye. So this is my account, and these are actual real running VMs. Now what I'm going to do is let's go ahead and so at this point I have yet to actually create a flow. Every time I've executed them, it has been from the test action, which, as we have pointed out, one of our favorite, if not maybe my favorite thing in New York.
That is very near to the top of my favorite things in New York.
Oh, actually, but even before I do that, let's look and see. I've got now the 3 different inputs to this create VM action. All 3 of them are dynamic choices. So you see that this region is driven by get regions action, type is driven by get types, etc.
And that is one of the reasons why you have so many actions, is because these dynamic choices rely on a action to go and retrieve that. It didn't have to be 3. It could have been one action that, could get all 3 of those things and return them appropriately. But for logic's sake, you chose to do them one per. And given the tools you had available from the open API specs, I suspect some of that was driven by they had an API call that was specific to get you region.
Yeah, and and one of the best practices.
That was mostly
absolutely. All 3 of those. Each of these is a single API call. And one thing that's notable: each one of these is available unauthenticated. So if you look at the actual API call that I create, I don't pass my authentication token. So the get my VMs, you can get the kind of VMs that we have available. You can get those without logging in.
Oh, nice.
Which kind of makes sense, right?
Yeah.
They're nothing specific to my account. That's actually to the company as a whole. So given all that, I will click test, and this is popping open, what we've got here. So region, and I did a little fiddling around. We finally, last week we were having trouble. We got to where we were not showing the thing on the screen, but we're getting the right values.
Yep.
And I played around a little bit because this right here, the CA-central, that is the value that you pass onward.
Right.
But I found that it was actually a little bit hard. I prefixed it with the actual country because, for example,
so you got nice sorting.
Well, so I got nice sorting, but like AP West and AP Northeast, I didn't actually know what. I knew it was in Asia Pacific, but I didn't know what country it was in, and so I didn't know without the country code, I got AP West and Northeast South, and I didn't know one's Singapore, one's Japan, et cetera, et cetera. And you may have a reason to want.
Oh, that makes sense. Yeah.
So yeah, so let's go ahead and I'm gonna just. What would be the most fun thing in here? Let's put one in. This is Mumbai, so we'll spin something up in Mumbai, and we have various types, all the way up to these like. Ginormous things. That'll cost you some real money. We're going to do the very cheapest one because I'm spending actual cash on this. And then what I've added, and this is completely new since last week, is these are the various images, like boot images that you can have on that VM. So you can get CentOS, you can get Debian, various Debians. And again,
this is generic image. This is not a saved.
Right. This is their
snapshot or anything of yours.
Yes. And you can create your own. And if you wanted to create your own image, you would have then you would have to log in.
Mm-hmm.
So the way that I have this built, you would not get your own images because I'm not passing the authorization token.
Ah, okay.
So, but you'll also know, and this is quite a good example of why you use a dynamic choice, because you'll notice I actually strip out in the code of this, I strip out the things that are deprecated. So you'll notice, like for Ubuntu, you have the LTS, and then the current one. And so there's, an 18.10 that is actually deprecated. And I was like, I don't show those. But again, in 6 months, that's going to change, right? There will be a different
and you don't want to have to come back here and...
I do not want to change my code when that happens. So let's just pick one. Let's pick Debian 10. So now I'm saying I want a thing in this region of this type with this boot image. And we're going to run this test. It takes nice, gratifyingly reasonable time. We'll go look at the execution details, and you'll see this is what is returned from that action. Here's an IP address. Here's the ID, the Linode ID. Here's the label, and if you don't tell it a label, it just creates it named Linode ID. Linode concatenated with ID. This is the root password of that machine. Now, I don't care too much about people seeing it because this is not going to be
because it's going to go away in just a moment.
Go away real soon.
There's nothing in there right now, and it's going to go away in just a moment.
And if we go,
so we did have a good question, which was, what would we like to see in a pull request for Spoke, and also Andrew's standards that we should follow? Absolutely great question. So over on the developer blog, so developer.servicenow.com, and then you click blog. The most recent there is a post for Hacktoberfest, Spoketoberfest. It should be on the left-hand side. Click that. That'll get you started. So you can choose one that already has some activity on it. You could choose the Linode one. And the thing we look for in a PR is either improving on what Dave's done for this Linode one by adding in more error checking and better this is
filling out actions I didn't have, things like that.
And that's another thing is you could add more actions, or you could just make the actions that he's made more enterprise worthy. Like you could do better parsing. There's all sorts of things you could contribute to improving the Spoke.
If
or you can pick a brand new one.
Yeah, if you want to work on one that somebody else is already working on, it's actually a good idea to start filing issues just so that everybody knows kind of what you're working on.
And that's in the instructions.
Yeah.
So if you want to contribute, there's steps in that blog entry that tell you how to contribute. Actually, it's a link from the blog to the repo that has all the details. But yeah, it'll tell you file an issue and then, perform your fork and start doing your contributions.
All right. So now what I'm going to do, I'm going to just copy the Linode ID from the execution plan. Let's go back over here and let's go to the shutdown VM and let's just shut it down right now. So same deal. I'm going to use the test, I'm going to execute it, paste that in there. Run the test. Okay, so now, and I presume in a second that should be shutting down or shut down. So you see
Spinny
that
wheel.
see that shutting down. Now I've added another one, which is and this is something I did not know until very recently, is that unlike a lot of places, AWS, Google Compute, Azure, when you shut off the machines, you're not paying for them. Linode, you're paying for it whether it's running or not. Did not know that. Did not know that until just
at the
now.
same rate or a lower rate.
I think maybe at the same rate, which is unusual.
That's weird.
That is an unusual business decision. So what we're going to do is we're actually going to delete.
Because one of them is just using storage space, and the other is using storage and processor space.
It is possible, and I could be wrong on this, that you may be paying the block storage rate for the size of your VM. I don't know that you're paying your VM rate if it's not running. I'm not exactly sure on that. But
there's definitely costs being incurred.
There are still costs being incurred. Okay, so delete VM, return it true, and if we come back over here, we should see it's gone. So it disappeared out of there.
Poof.
So those parts all work. Now what we want to do, and I have never touched this, and I may have to actually descend into some docs.
Which is okay. That's normal. That's what we do.
I want to do, let's call it.
We're going to SSH in here, right?
We're going to do
what do we want it to do?
Let's just get the list of all the running processes.
Okay.
Let's have it SSH in, like do a ps-ef, and return that list. Okay.
So do we want to, for naming of the thing, do we want to accept a command from your action input to send to, or do we want to just do a action that just does what we want?
Let's just call it run Linux command.
Because if we did run Linux command, then yeah, we just accept
make it really generic.
Right.
Let's make it Linux spike.
That's a design decision, right? Because we could have gone either way. And there's not a wrong way here. We're deciding.
Yeah, for the purpose of this, actually, we can fiddle with it more by making this generic. Okay, so we're going to create that. The inputs, we're going to need a couple inputs for sure. We're going to need IP address. Let's do the nice looking. I actually had to go back and rename everything to the nice human readable labels. We actually have an IP type, which I will use. IP address, password. I'll say user. String.
Okay.
Password. I'm presuming we're going to need all these. Obviously, I've never done this. I have never even opened the SSH step before, so
I have not either. And the amount of time in my life I've spent in SSH is really high, but I have not used the SSH step in ServiceNow.
Okay.
In Integration Hub.
So let us assume we're going to use these various pieces: IP address, username, password. That's like the minimum stuff we need to SSH in, and then the command we want to run.
Yep, seems reasonable.
It seems way reasonable to me. All right, so let's add in.
And SSH it's not set in stone. We'll just add whatever we need later.
Shoot, let me go back to here and let's add this again. We might actually have a problem in that this may require a Midserver, which I do not have.
SSH should, that would require a Midserver.
On remote host through a Midserver.
Well,
let's go ahead.
That is an imminently solvable problem.
That is. I just don't. Do you have one configured that we can set up?
I have one. I have. Let's see. I have a Midserver running somewhere. Let's see if I've got it running on this machine. That would be really convenient. But that's not any. Changing it to point to your instance is not any easier than just installing it again.
Okay.
I will do that while you're getting it set up. I will get a Midserver running on my machine for you.
Sounds good. So credential alias, and we're not going to use that. We're going to define it inline. The host we can get from here. The credential alias.
So if you want to pass it, if you want to have the password stored, you need a credential alias, right? But you don't
Yeah,
need
it
one
looks like
here, do you?
I don't know. I mean, I guess it. I was thinking that we would be able to just pass it the password here.
It doesn't look like it. Doesn't look like it. Looks like we have to give it a credential alias.
Well, then let's do this. Can we create? We can create a credential alias.
We could. Oh wow, that's a. Whoa.
Is this do?
That's out there, sir.
Because one of the things that I want to do is I don't want to use a stored thing, because what I'd like to do is be able to chain these together and get the root password of the thing I just created.
I understand, but
Credential.
creating your credential alias record is a multi-record step
SSH.
process.
SSH credentials.
That's an action in and of itself.
Possibly. This may be. Can I? Let's see. I wonder what the absolute minimum required here is. Does not. It won't take password to. Oh. I'll bet you I have to define this as password type.
Oh, the input? Yeah, so you can pass it the data pill in. That seems reasonable.
If I pass it plain text in there, well, let's see. Let us just begin with this and see what happens. All right. So now, will it take this? Yes. So I'm creating an SSH credential, the password, and probably a username, right?
Username? Yep.
And do I want to? I may need a. Let's just give it for the name of this thing. Let's just say
the user plus the ID or user plus IP address or something.
How about that?
That seems reasonable.
That is not where I wanted that ampersand. I want that ampersand right here.
Yeah, getting your cursor in the right place once there's pills in there is a little tricky.
Okay, that's what I want.
That doesn't seem horrible.
It does not. All right, so I'm going to create that record. Then let's see, is it possible that
since it's just a SSH one, I think we were a little lucky in that because it was more complicated than that, and it was.
What do you think? This looks like. It looks like it should be doable. But the connection. Oh, what this is going to do is just look for, because I'm not telling it specifically which midserver to use. It's going to look for any midserver that I have available, right?
Yep. And okay. If you, I'm getting close, so.
Okay. So then, well, I'm going to go ahead and build this out. The command is just going to be, so working directory. I'm just going to say the root directory. I'm just going to say tilde. For whatever user you're going, just go to your home directory. Then for command, I'm just going to pass in the command. Bearing in mind that there's no sanitization on this. So if the command passed is rm-RF, that's what it is.
It will do it, yeah. All right, roles, edit. So in the background here, I am getting a midserver user and midserver set up for your instance, because, well, that's what you have to do.
And then what I want to do here is, let's just call this results. And I'm going to go ahead and fill this out. We're not going to be able to test this until it exists. But results, we'll call it results. string. I'm not going to make this mandatory because maybe nothing comes back. Well, I guess, yeah, we'll just do this. And then we will say that the output of the SSH step is the output of the action. That looks pretty simple. Other than the fact that I completely forgot that the SSH can't happen from the instance itself, which is my unfamiliarity with all things orchestration, which I really don't do very much.
Jay says, "Do it." he says, "Kill it." RM dash or RF. Do it. He says, I've got the Midserver on. The Midserver is now maybe validated
On my machine?
Your instance, yes.
Okay.
It is getting validated right now. It is almost validated. It is validated. So now you have a Midserver that is validated and up and should be able to execute commands on your behalf.
Okay. What's this default Midserver? I didn't even know about such a thing. I guess this is, in Geneva. So this is some sort of weirdo.
That's something that you created.
I don't even remember this. So clearly, this is something that happened several years ago. Okay. Gumby Midserver. All right. So are we just going to go for it? Let's,
I think it's going to, well, anyway, let's try.
You think it's going to fail on something?
I think it's going to fail, but
let's see how it goes.
I'm delighted to see.
All right. So let's go back to this. Let's go back to creating a VM. I'm just going to leave all the same stuff up.
Oh, it is still validating.
Okay.
So it just restarted it. So it may have failed because of that. But I think that it's finished validating for sure now. So validating as now actually yes, as opposed to validating.
Okay. All right, cool. So let us see. I'm curious. So you can kind of, if you want to keep it to yourself, you can. I'm curious to see what you think it's going to fail on. So let's come over here. Let's test this guy. So let's pass it one by one. Our things. Oh, I need a password type 2 pill. Oh. All right. Stop. Abort.
Feels like you have to make a flow at this point.
Make a what? Huh?
A flow to spin up a Linode to send a command.
Is there a way? I don't know very much about this password type 2 field. So I can't put it in here unless it's of type password.
Well, you can.
But
you could totally make a script step that takes a plain password and makes it a password 2 password.
Let's do that. All right, you tell me how to do it.
Script step.
Create password.
I don't think I have to tell you how to do it. You create the input that's a regular string, and the output's going to be password 2, and the script
I don't
is
know
going
that
to say.
I've ever. Yeah, so I don't know the syntax for creating a password 2. Is it okay? So.
Oh, I don't think you have to create a password 2 password pill here.
You think I just have to
tell
it
that
that's
password 2 pill? I don't know. That's
let's try. So
maybe
let's test that hypothesis. Outputs dot password.
There is an API for doing password 2. Let me look that up while you're doing that. And so you can be testing that while I'm looking up the API for.
So you think if I do this and I just make it of this type, it will automatically convert at this point?
I mean, that's what I want to have happen.
All right, dude, I'm willing to try. Password 2. Let's call it a password 2A encrypted. We'll make it mandatory. So it takes in our plain text. So I'm going to go back to my input and make this back to plain text.
Ooh, Flow API has got set encrypted output.
Interesting. All right, so create
build password 2 variable values inside a script step. There is an API specifically for this.
Okay, so this will not automatically do it. I need to do another thing. Is it a syntax you can easily tell me?
Yeah, it is. So whatever your thing is, I'm trying to get to the part that actually matters, which is outputs equals SN underscore glide action util with all the words capital, glide action util. And it was SN underscore FD dot that glide.
Okay.
Glide action util dot set encrypted output with the camel case. Set encrypted output.
That.
And then parentheses and put in your inputs.password with a semicolon. That appears to be the syntax that it's saying. It put the outputs in a sort of weird output. It didn't use output dot.
Yeah, well, let's just do this. And let's see. Maybe I don't know. Let's see if this will.
Why is this a new API, Jace? I have no idea. Other than that, you can use this inside a script step in Flow Designer.
So now our password is this encrypt is the output of encrypt password. Our username is the user. This is the credential that we're creating. Blah 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 blah. And then for SSH step, we're using that as a credential alias. We're using this host. We're saying whatever Midserver works. There should be a Midserver that works. Do you know specifically that your Midserver has the SSH capability?
No. I mean,
all right, let's try it and see. I'm going to save this and let's see what happens when we run it.
I mean,
at the very least, what we can see is
my computer has got the SSH capabilities. I am very sure of that.
Yeah. Is the Midserver record marked as that? That's the.
I don't know. I will go see if that's I didn't even know that was a thing you could tell your Midserver that you can do or not do.
All right. So now I'm going to go. Here's what I'm going to do. I need to. I need multiple values, and I'm going to lose control of the copy paste thing. Oh. Let's just create a nice text edit window with the stuff I want here so I can paste it. All right. So now I'm going to go back over here to that. We're going to test it. Let's get those off the screen. All right, here's my IP address. Here's my password. It should be noted that this password is one that I just wrote I wrote some JavaScript to create the random password. So I passed this into the create VM function.
Okay.
All right. Now, this is the point where we say, do we think this is going to work? you think it's going to fail. You have some
I think it's going to fail like 3 different ways.
All right. Let's see how it fails.
I don't have the optimism today on this part. Once you involve a Midserver, and your complexity is going way up.
Okay. So let's look and see step by step what happened. Do we get...
Runtime value undefined. Glide FDIH P2.
I'm not so sure that that's a problem because it might actually be hiding that.
I'm not sure it's a problem either, but
we do. It appears. Credentials. It appears that we in fact have a credential record of type SSH credential. It's a username and password. So that part doesn't seem terrible.
Yeah, it's just what's in there.
We don't know what's in there, and we
don't
actually
know
don't
what's in
have
there.
we don't have a way of seeing what's in there. I don't believe.
Yeah.
Okay.
Well, we could use the Glide encryptor API to get the value of that password.
Okay.
We could. So, I mean, that is a doable thing.
Um, okay. I don't know that I care too much about that right now. What I see is from our step, we did it. We had no output. Now the question is, what? I don't know that I have a lot of. We don't have a lot of insight into what didn't happen
But
at this point.
yeah.
Okay. So what was
What's
your? What
the
did?
what's the document ID runtime value record that opened up the
That's the
password
credential. That's the credential.
credential? Okay. All right.
So that's this.
Yeah. So we just don't have an idea what's in there. And then we didn't see anything.
So what we see is
The
look
password.
at this. The password
Yeah,
is
that is
literally
definitely a problem.
that. Okay.
That's definitely a problem.
All right, let's see if we can figure this out. All right, let's go back to this guy. So that's clearly jacked. So
let's see what. So the weird thing is the format, and this might be worth you pulling up to take a look at. So just go to Developer API and do and search password, and you'll get to the set encrypted output.
Okay.
Because I'm not so sure that this isn't meant to be used inside a flow versus inside an action.
Possible. Set encrypted output. Set encrypted output, but I'm not seeing.
When you click it, it should jump you right to there. Did it not?
Set encrypted output.
There you go. So you see how it's the outputs and then the name of the output. I mean, that should be okay, but that seems weird syntax here. But it seems like we called it roughly correctly.
Yeah. Password 2, the PW value. Set encrypted output. So let me just copy this. So in their case, they're doing two things. This
doesn't even do what I want. I'm sorry. If you read the not awesome description there, it says identify an encrypted to password value returned from a Glide record, and then displays that as opposed to an encrypted string.
This is not encrypting it.
Yeah, that's not encrypting it. So we need to actually do the Glide encryptor API.
And would that be in legacy?
That's legacy.
Oh no! Does that mean I'm not gonna be able to call it from a scope?
Probably not.
Ooh.
Yeah, Glide encryptor, and then encrypt.
Is this the two-way? This is not the two-way. This is a one-way.
No, that's
right?
the two-way. Because it can decrypt. It's the two-way because it can decrypt.
And I can't. So if I try to do this, it's gonna fail because I'm doing it from a scope. Right.
Yeah, it'll fail because of scope. I mean, we could dump it.
Here's what we're gonna do. I'm gonna do this right. We're gonna do this right now. We'll get around this, which is we're gonna create an action in global
that
called
will do this for us.
Encrypt password.
Yes.
So let's go ahead and do that right now.
Yes, we are trying to encrypt, Jace.
So we will take it as a we'll take it just as a we are in our action are not going to bother with the encryption. We're going to assume in our action that it's already encrypted.
I'm not so sure that it doesn't encrypt it when you save it to that credential record anyway.
Do you think? So let's tell you what, testable hypothesis.
So for example, when you input it into the field and hit save, it encrypts it right then.
Okay. So what if we don't do that and we just the problem being that this flow requires it to be like this right here. This requires it to be of password 2. This is our problem. It's that
you can't just type in there.
I can't just like I can't.
You can't. Yeah. So we can't.
It has to be. It can't. Like I can't put string is not allowed here. I can't put a plain text string in there.
Then I guess that means that it will only accept a password 2 and then it wouldn't think that it needs to encrypt a password 2 that you passed it.
Right. So we're just gonna
do it the way. Yeah. It really tries to help you be good sometimes, but other times it's like, oh, just do what I want, man.
And really, all we want to do here is take one input.
Yep.
Which is
one string input and output one password 2.
Mandatory. Let's just call it encrypted password, just to be clear.
Encrypted. Password 2. Yeah.
In our script step, we let's go back over to this guy. I'm just gonna cut and paste that whole thing. Start from there. One of the things that we're going around here is that if we had a set up permanent credential, we didn't have to be doing any of this.
Right. But we
want to do the
creating these
on the fly.
On the fly.
And
inputs, so you don't need you just need inputs dot whatever you called it, which was
password. I don't even need to var. I'm just going to do outputs. I'm just going to do the single line really. Outputs dot encrypted password. What this does imply is that I will not be able to test this thing as a solitary action. Because unless I guess I could pass it through, and then if it's going to show me the encrypted thing, I could actually. Well,
it'll just show you a bunch of stars.
It'll just show me. Yeah, it's not okay.
And did you set the inputs and outputs of the script step?
I did not. All right.
You know I'm a big fan of those.
I hear you. All right. All right. All right.
And then this should be a password 2 type.
Okay.
Then now we
I have to remember
set
to
that
go down
into
here.
the outputs. Yep. Whee.
All right. Okay. Now, this thing, we're going to actually get rid of this because now it's just confusing us.
Presumably, what we could have done is a script step in a flow, but that's not Spoke.
Yeah, that's
nice.
not. The downside of this is that now, bless you. The downside of this is to make this usable, my Spoke has a dependency on this other thing that's not in the Spoke. So that's a conundrum to be solved.
Yes.
Hmm.
But that's solvable either by the script step or the user can have credentials. Like that is yes, it's the dependency, but it's also it's a fairly down the road dependency, right? So
Okay, so let's go ahead and let's create ourselves a flow. Let's say, now this one is I don't know that I'm super confident that we'll actually get this flow working today, but I can live with that either way. Let's say SSH flow. Let's call it Linode SSH. I specifically want it in global, not the Spoke, because I don't want to pollute my Spoke with a thing that I'm going to publish. Let's run it. Or let's, before we do anything, properties, show draft actions. Whoa, not there.
The kebabs on the side.
This thing. Configurations, show draft actions. All right, let's call that.
Yeah, you can do we don't need it against a table or anything. Just do a scheduled on demand scheduled thing. Run once. We in the future.
Okay. Then what we're going to do is we're going to
do our password.
No, first we're going to.
Oh yeah, because it needs to accept it from the create the create VM, right?
So let's create a VM, and beautifully enough, we'll set it in India. Create a little VM, Debian 10.
Okay.
Then we're going to add in an encrypt password. We're going to take the root password from here and add it in.
Okay.
Now, we're going to add our SSH step.
Which will accept things from the create.
Oh, no. It's called run. It's not this one. It's called run.
Run command or something. Yeah.
Yes.
Run Linux command. Nice.
And we're going to take all this stuff from here.
Address, user, and ID. Well, user
is hard coded to root. Password from
encrypted password.
It takes it, and this is going to be rm-rf. No, it's not. And then we're done, right? Oh no, one more thing. Here's the other thing. We almost certainly have got to put a wait in here.
For it to actually spin up before we do the command. Yeah.
Wait for.
I don't know.
Let's wait for 1 minute.
That seems reasonable. And in fact, while you're doing that, you can, if you've got a Slack open in the not work Slack, you can pop me that password once it's on the test screen, and I can SSH to it and take a look at it here.
Oh, and see if
you can look at it there, but I want to verify that I can get there from here.
Verify you can get it from your Midserver.
Yeah.
Because your machine is the Midserver. Is that right?
Right.
Sure.
Which shouldn't be any different than yours, but.
Am I going to see that while it's waiting? Is it going to show me the interim? Will the execution plan?
Yeah.
Show the okay.
I think
we'll do that. Run Linux command. So we're going to wait for a minute.
Actually, I don't know. I don't know what it does when you say wait. Probably not. I think we'll have to wait.
Here's what we can do, just for funsies. 2 minutes. Before we do that.
Throw in a log step.
Log the password.
And then I can get it myself.
Let's be aware, friends and neighbors. These are not best practices.
Yes.
These are not best practices. This is for the purpose of this silly demo. All right,
learning things in a development environment is not the same thing.
We will log the root password. We might as well log everything, right? We'll log the root password, the IP address.
And the IP address? Yes, so I can have both.
I will log those. You got 2 minutes to kind of get in there if you'd like.
Okay. Give me something between password and IP address, please.
I'm trying to get the. Yeah, let's do this. This is kind of a funky. Actually, this order drives me nuts, but I'm going to do it this way anyway. All right, so we'll log that. We'll create the VM. We'll encrypt the password. We'll log it.
All right.
Password.
I
So
like
you can
it.
get to
Let's do it.
Run the, and then let us go ahead and just for completeness, let's delete the VM when we're done.
Is it delete first or shut down first, or it doesn't care?
You can delete.
Okay.
Just to show kind of how we would do this, and then the Linode ID would be the ID from here.
IP. Yeah.
So this is how you would chain these things together. So even if the
even if the SSH doesn't work, we have a complete flow now.
Yeah, this is how you would do this, right? You could do whatever you're going to do with the VM, whether it's run it for a day or something. I mean, you could make this. This could be have none of this stuff and just I have a VM I want for 24 hours.
Yep. The wait for 2 minutes. Pretend like that says 24 hours.
And then shut it down. The end.
Right.
Okay.
Add a scheduled start time and stop time. This is feeling awful like we should do this for our show VM.
Yes. We might move it off of Google Compute since it's
because we have a Linode spoke already made.
Yes, there you go. That, my friend, is a great idea. Okay. Let's go ahead and test this guy. Let's save it.
I am awaiting your test.
All right. So at this point, we'll try it. I don't know that I have that high of confidence we're actually going to SSH because it's kind of around the it's all around the password business, right? All right. So at this point, it should be logged.
SSH, it is. I am working on SSHing there right now.
We should see the VM in my account. I think we have one that we ran and never shut down. I'll remember to shut them all down when we're done. All right, it's booting. 7%, 14. All right, it appears to be booted. Here's something I don't know. Does this UI refresh itself, or do I have to refresh it? I probably have to. It probably does not.
There's a refresh icon, so I think you have to refresh it right next to the test room. Yeah.
It should still be waiting. 21:55, so it should be waiting for another 30 seconds. That 2 minutes seems to be plenty. Are you able to SSH?
I've just finally gotten connected. No, I'm trying to SSH. Paste. All right, I was unsuccessful, but I think that was just a pasting error. Let's just type the thing. Oh, Lord.
All right. Well, in 10 seconds, we should have our real thing. So we'll either have succeeded or failed. Like I said, I'm actually pretty sanguine about both possibilities.
Oh.
Completed. The run Linux command is in progress. Oh, that seems good. And you see, actually, it is logging the encrypted password. It is in progress. Here's something that I have no idea about this SSH step, which is to say, when that thing's done, does it disconnect and return? I don't know anything about that.
Does it give you anything? Yeah. I have no idea either.
I said false. It may actually be waiting until the timeout because I didn't tell it was long running.
We can go look at the ECC queue and see what was sent. Oh, canceled error. Unable plan from JSON. All right.
I don't understand that, but that's interesting. What the huh? I don't know what any of that means. Unable to deserialize process plan from JSON. That sounds orchestration-y.
It does.
I wonder if that's communication from the mid server to the server.
Well, I was able to successfully SSH with the password that was logged. Is one step that we do know worked. So I can actually get there, which is great.
And I don't have any error. Unable to deserialize process plan from JSON. All right. So here's the deal. I'm not going to die on this hill. I don't know that I have the tools right now to tackle what that even means. But I feel so executed as mid server.
I mean, that's the error that the mid server is returning. So
I wonder if the
that's not a flow designer error. That's the mid server's response from the running the command.
Okay, so I think other than the fact that we probably have to do some fiddling with the mid server. So now the next step for this, like for me to play with this, would be to install the mid server on my local machine, set it up, and I know, for example, that I could SSH to it. I have SSH on this machine, and then I could actually watch my own machine doing this. Were you able to see your machine like that in the process list when it was running? Do you want to try it again and see if you can see it?
Was I able to see my machine? What?
On your machine, which is the mid server, if you did a PS, were you able to see the SSH process start?
I did not look.
Okay, let's just kill this guy one more. Let's run this guy one more time. And when we get to that point, let's just see if you ever see if you ever see the SSH on your machine. And if you see the SSH, that will tell us something. All right, so 2908 is when that's going to happen. In the meantime, I'm going to go back here, and I'm going to delete some VMs.
Yeah, because it canceled, so I didn't actually have a chance to delete that one.
How do I even? Where's my? Thought I had a little. Maybe it's over here. Let's make sure I'm not deleting the one that the flow. You know what? I'll just let it go because I'm not sure. I don't want to delete the one that is booting. The one that's booting should be 459. 459. Okay. Ooh, see, that was the one I was going to delete. Is this one already booted up? That seems... Wow, that one came up fast. Okay. Okay, so this one is up. It's running. The flow is waiting on the 2 minutes. So it's got about 30 more seconds to wait. And all we really want to do, and we'll consider it a stunning success, if you see an SSH attempting. We know it's not going to work, or it seems unlikely it's going to work, and that's probably something in mid-server configuration, something we'll have to figure out amongst ourselves. But this is the strategy. And in fact, the stuff, if we get rid of this run Linux command, we'll get rid of this and just test it one time for spinning up, deleting. All right. So it should, at this point, be...
I think it just sent it, and I did see it do something on the mid server. Yes. I didn't fire SSH, but I saw...
In your mid-server log, you can see
the mid-server actually did work.
Okay. So something's happening on the mid-server. It may be something that we're, some sort of, I don't know that I have a lot of control on what we did here, right? SSH step.
And it threw the same error out the other side.
Action command. Yeah, I don't. Yeah, I don't know that I have a lot of.
Yeah, what I'm not entirely sure of is, I'm not sure that the mid server on my machine knows how to call SSH.
Okay, fair enough.
So the next time we try, we would use a Linux-based machine as opposed to a Windows-based one that knows how to use
it's
SSH
a Windows-based machine, or
natively.
my Mac with the mock kernel that knows how to SSH.
Yeah.
Okay, that could very well be the
I
problem.
do have the Linux, sort of all the commands available, the Windows type Linux stuff, but
the mid server,
but doesn't mean that mid server knows how to
Okay.
to access those either.
All right,
So
I'm going to
stop share.
I'm going to stop the share.
All right.
And I'm not going to worry about the Zoom for you, sir. I'm just going to go back to this thing, which is not really us. Let me hold on 1 second. Boom.
If you tell Zoom to stop share, it'll make our pictures.
Oh yeah,
bigger.
yeah. That's the problem. Let me stop. Yeah, I do have to stop sharing Zoom. Which I can't find the window. There it is. All right, there it is. All right, so limited success, but I think it did kind of what we expected to. Everything other than the SSH part was pretty sweet. So, like, I'm feeling extremely good about this spoke, right? And I don't believe that you're kidding. Is that we could conceivably do this show on Linode instead of Google Compute, particularly if our VM that we normally use to stream is just crapped out.
Yeah, if it's
we have to do
if it's crapped out,
anyway.
then that's a really good time to explore other options, right?
When a thing crashes and dies is an extremely good jumping off point for the platform you're on and on to another one. So that may be where we are. All right. So that would actually make me super happy. So we may look at running that thing hourly. All right.
Yeah, that seems very reasonable, right? Is just because we wanted to automate the starting up the VMs and the Zoom and stuff, and if we did the Linux with the SSH and firing the commands, we could totally spin up the image, start Zoom, start OBS, and be ready to go.
Yeah, we could have it Slack us the password, the IP and password.
Yes.
On creation of that, which would be another thing that you would do in that flow, right? So you'd use one step to create the thing. Now you can use, those can be outputs to any step, and that step can be Slack, and Slack us to our channel. VM is up. Here's how you connect. So sounds like a project. That sounds like a project.
That sounds like a fun project. That might be a tonight. I might have to get a Linode account.
Oh, hey, hang on when we're done. Let me get you a code. I can get you $20 free.
Sweet.
All
so
right,
that was a lot of fun. So we'll go to the beers. So that was great. It wasn't pure success, but it feels too much like a demo if it is. My German Kolsch was exactly what I want from a Kolsch. So it is a 4. It is precisely what I expect and what I want from a nice German Kolsch.
This golden lager, not doing it for me that much. I can't imagine buying it again.
The name exceeded the.
Man, when you buy based on the high concept, you're opening yourself up to that possibility.
You have to be prepared for disappointment when you buy for exciting names.
I'm gonna give it a straight up 3. So Westbrook not.
They're not winning any.
Yeah, I'm not loving
any championships from you. Well, that was just so much fun. Contribute. Go to the developer blog, developer.servicenow.com. Click blog. Go to our Spoketoberfest link and check it out.
Yeah, do not forget this year. So I don't know how when the cutoff is going to trigger. But DigitalOcean is not mailing out infinite shirts this year. They're stopping at the first 50,000. Now we did the math, and they're still spending somewhere between $500,000 and $1 million on shirts. So that's still awfully generous. But they are limiting it.
Very
to
generous, but
50,000.
it does have a cap.
And so,
And who knows if they even sent out 50,000 last year? I actually don't know how many.
I have no idea. That may
But-
just be,
But that may be
a stop
here's
loss.
the cap.
Here's
This is my budget. It
This was
is the
such a
cap.
success that we are not going to spend more than this next year.
They sent us some wonderful stuff for our hackathon event that we did that I was at last week in Minneapolis with Jace.
Mhm.
And they sent us they sent him a box of goodies for our event, which was awesome.
Very nice. Thank you, DigitalOcean.
Thank you, DigitalOcean.
And then, so don't forget, I did my 4th pull request earlier today. When you do that, it actually starts a timer. So it does not immediately send you into you have succeeded. It gives you a 7-day timer. And at first, I did not understand what that was. That 7-day timer is what we were saying before.
It's for the maintainer to mark it to spam or not.
Yeah, they have 7 days to reject your pull request.
Right.
All right. Yeah, and I think even a rejected but valid pull request still counts.
Yeah.
But
they have the details on the site that tell you what a valid one is. Like when you do your first one, it'll actually show you a little diagram of what the icons, and it's got a legend at the bottom that tells you what it means. So that was wonderful. Thank you so much, everybody, for joining us today. And thank you, folks in the future who might watch this. We had a lot of fun with our Linode Spoke. We will be at the conclusion of the month putting the Linode Spoke up onto Share, and the GitHub will stick around for the foreseeable future. But we'll probably wrap up our actual building of actions and things like this might be it.
And and at this point, like what I have now, I feel is publishable, and like anything else is pure gravy.
It's gravy. Yeah, this is publishable, workable Spoke right now that you can go do useful things with this moment.
And as Andrew said, we may very well be doing the show with this from here on out. So, and bear in mind, again, there's still plenty of spokes that nobody has touched. You can claim it for your own,
or you can contribute to one that has some contributions, the Linode one, the GitLabs, the Bamboo, and the...
What was the other one?
There was another one.
There's one other that has had contributions.
Anyway, you can see what they are when you open them up.
SurveyMonkey was the other
SurveyMonkey. Yes, it was. All right. Awesome. Well, thank you, everybody.
And we will not be doing the Linode Spoke anymore. I think this is the end of the journey. So
we're not doing the show with it anymore. We might be running the show with it, but we're not.
We're not demonstrating it anymore unless there's an amazing public outcry for showing more of the same thing you've been showing me the last 3 weeks. But I think we're done with that on the show. So thanks, everybody.
Have a great weekend.
All right.